Hello and welcome back to Redirecting. Welcome. This video is going to be the first installment in the real estate investing series that I promised. A few days ago, I put out a post in which I mentioned in the post that we were going to be starting this series, and a number of you have joined since then. We appreciate you all for joining us. You're going to get some great and wonderful information in this series. I'm not sure how long the series is going to be because there's a lot to cover. So I know that it's going to be a decent amount of time and effort put into this series because, again, there's a lot to cover. There are many aspects of real estate investing. Of course, I'm going to go ahead and read what we were going to talk about from the post just to bring you up to speed again. The topics that we're going to cover are flipping houses, renting houses, managing tenants, funding and financing, group investing, house repairs, hiring contractors, buying land, buying and flipping a fixer-upper so that you can live in it for a season, tiny house buying, tiny house decorating, adverse possession, tax sale purchasing, flipping contracts, commercial property investments, buying farmland to produce income, and much more. One thing that I didn't mention in here is also Airbnb and similar services, okay? Of course, we never did Airbnb, but it's something that we have considered in the past, but we'll get into it because we have a very extensive background in real estate, and this would have been another element we would have loved to add to our real estate venture had we continued. And it's not to say that we are not going to get back into it again, because that is something my husband and I have talked about. But of course, we have so much on the table, and there are so many things to consider before we would get back into anything like this. But yeah, we didn't have Airbnb on the table before, but we would definitely like to cover that in this as well in this series. Now, there were a few of you who reached out to us, actually a couple of you who reached out to us, and I think one or two of you have joined as members, but you mentioned that you have some information you'd like to share as well, because you too are in real estate or have been involved in real estate. So what I want to do first is I want to start at the beginning, so that those of you who haven't followed our ministry channel and are not aware that we used to be in real estate, I can give you a little background on what we did. Again, this first video is going to just to talk about our beginning and not getting into all the details of all of the individual things that we want to cover in this series. Now, we started off as a couple that were very poor. That's where we will start. And we were living in a 2-bedroom apartment in Westland, Michigan. And I remember as we were living there, things were getting kind of rough for us, and we shared this experience as well. They were getting kind of rough, and we had 2 small children. We had been in the apartment, and we were, our family was growing. Okay, 2 small children, 2-bedroom apartment, and at the time, we weren't pregnant with Sophia yet, which is our 3rd child, but, we got into that point after the fact, okay? And so what ended up happening is things were getting kind of rough for us. We were trying different things. My husband had a job that wasn't doing what it needed to do. During some of that time, before he got into his job where he's repairing machines, I mean, times were so rough on us. It was a trip, okay? I'm just going to keep it real in here, family, for those of you who haven't heard our testimony, but we were very poor. We were married and poor with children. And as we were coming on hard times, it got to a point where my husband had to actually go to a blood bank in Detroit and give blood so that we can eat, because we had gotten to the point where our cabinets were empty. Okay, cabinets empty. And I remember looking in the refrigerator, and we had a couple of slices of lunch meat left, right? There was a bag of rice in the cabinet, but we had a bag of rice and a couple of slices of lunch meat, which was turkey. and we had some flour too. I'm just basically telling you we had very little. And so we had to actually pull together a meal. And so what we did was we made some rice. Um, we fried the little couple of slices of lunch meat in a skillet to give it a little burn to it, add some flour, and made ourselves some gravy. And so we were able to pour that over some rice. But that's how tough it was with trying to pull together a meal. Once those two slices of meat were gone, that was it on the meat. And so I remember saying to my husband, I said, we got to do something. I said, baby, you have to do something, you know. At the time, our oldest son, Elia, was a baby. And so I had, with me just having him and everything, it was kind of rough on us. And, you know, I remember feeling distraught and dismayed and just wondering what were we going to do. My husband, on a number of occasions, went to the city of Detroit, gave blood. I think at the time they were giving $20 for blood, and I remember him doing it a couple of times in a week because they limit the number of times you can come. And again, this was over 20 something years ago, so I'm not remembering the details as far as the exact amount of money. I think it was $20 and the number of times that you are allowed to go within a week. But anyway, each time he went, it was so that we can buy food. And so I remember thinking to ourselves as we struggled in poverty and then his job paying very little, barely able to make rent, we made some decisions. There was a time that came upon us. We had a very little amount of money in the bank. And it was more than 500, but it was definitely less than 700 or 800. And so there was a real estate seminar that was going on in downtown Detroit. And so I remember going to my husband real quiet like, and I said, baby, I think we need to go to this because right now things are kind of rough. Your job isn't paying enough, and we got these two small children, just had this baby, and you know the job just ain't cutting it, you know, and we just need to try something, you know. And I remember going to him almost as if to know that he was going to say no, because that's how it was back in the day. Before I can even get the question out, my husband was like, nope, 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 you know. And so I said, I got to convince this man somehow. I have got to convince him because I can feel it in my gut that we need to do this. And so what we ended up doing is we sat down and we talked. And I said to my husband, I said, baby, I know we don't have that much money in the bank. This seminar cost $500, but what they're doing is they're teaching you how to do real estate. They're teaching you how to invest in real estate. And we decided, after much talking and going back and forth and disagreeing on the whole thing, my husband was like, well, look, our rent is about to be due just, you know, not too far from now. You know, you need to go ahead we need to go ahead and pay our rent. And I said, well, baby, I said, we can either pay our bills or we could do something that's going to improve us. I said, because we have nothing to lose. I said, after we pay this, that's it. You know, we don't have anything to lose. I think we need to give this a try, you know, because he was already making very little on his job. And so we decided to go ahead and give it a try. And in all of this, come to find out, the seminar was really them just trying to sell some type of manual that they had put together on investing in real estate. And in my opinion, it didn't do what I thought it was going to do. We thought we were going to go there and things were going to be very simple. But in a sense they were, but it didn't come through the people who gave the seminar. We met this old white guy there. His name was Mr. Sutter. I think he was in his 80s. He told us his age back then. Like I said, this was 20 something years ago. He told us his age and he was in his 80s, and it showed. You could tell he was in his 80s. But of all of the people that were present there in that room, there were hundreds of people there. You know how it is when you go to these hotel seminars, hundreds of people there, black, white, all kinds of people, right? And then there was me and my husband. Of all of these people, somehow we crossed paths with Mr. Sutter, this old white guy in his 80s. And Mr. Sutter struck up a conversation with my husband and I. We talked and we talked and we talked. And then he said, I tell you what, guys, why don't you come to my office in such and such and such and such? I believe it was in Southfield, Michigan at that time. And Mr. Sutter, he sat us down. And this man fed us so much knowledge and information about real estate investing and other types of investment within that time frame that we were meeting with him, that it was worth every bit of the $500 that we paid the people who gave the seminar just to meet Mr. Sutter, because that's where our real estate venture really began. This man taught us the ropes. Okay, he taught us all kinds of things. And so just to get more into it, Mr. Sutter taught us how to literally, I mean, things were different back then. A lot of laws have changed since then, but he literally taught us how to buy real estate property with no money down, straight up. He also taught us how, on paper, he himself, Mr. Sutter, was poor. He said he's so poor that he could qualify for welfare, right? But he owned enough assets to where he was actually rich. Now, I said to myself, what the heck is this man talking about, But he explained it all, how he doesn't own anything, that everything that he owns is actually not him owning it as Mr. Sutter, but corporations. Okay, that's something we'll get into later. I just wanted to basically share with you all how we learned about real estate investing in the way that we did. Of course, we knew people who were already buying and selling properties, but they were doing it a different way. They would save up the money, just pay cash for a house, and that was it. But the way Mr. Sutter showed us how to invest in real estate was just phenomenal. We learned so much, and it was so much information that we learned, so many different methods that we learned, that we were able to do a whole lot of real estate. Now, again, at some point we would definitely be interested in getting into real estate again, but the areas that we invested in back then were quite different than we are now. So of course, the game has changed as well. There's a whole lot that's different. So we're going to get into all of that too in this series. But I wanted to basically show you all how we began in this, how my husband and I, it was through necessity of struggle. Okay, it wasn't because we had all of this money and all these deep pockets and we were like, okay, let's get into real estate. It was nothing like that. Our venture into real estate had more to do with necessity. We were like, okay, we see other people doing it. I remember looking at real estate seminars that were being advertised on television at the time. I forget this one guy's name, but he was talking about, he was a very well-known, this is 20 something years ago, but there was a guy who used to buy real estate and he would do infomercials. The internet has made it to where you don't have to find some guy who's doing infomercials. I'm trying to think of his name, is on the tip of my brain. His name is irrelevant, but anyway, we would see him, and he was a man who was doing multi-million-dollar deals. Okay, but anyway, we're going to scale it back to how we started things. But in our start of real estate, it was just it was unbelievable at first, because we were like, it can't be as simple as Mr. Sutter's making it, And so all of that information we want to share with you all in this series. I just wanted to do this this introductory into the series so you can understand that there are so many different layers and elements that have been added to investing in real estate since we were doing it back in Michigan. But it's still a lot of people doing real estate and very successful at it. There are still very good ways and methods of getting in. Depending on what type of real estate investing you're trying to do determines how much money you need, or if you need money at all. And so I want to cover all of that stuff, but I wanted to share our testimony first about how necessity can sometimes drive you to do things. It makes you take that leap. You say, well, hey, I got to do something because the job market is not, always that stable. And in our case, my husband and I, the job market wasn't as stable as we needed it to be. I know that I could have gone out and gotten a job, after the baby had gotten a little older or whatever. But our issue was childcare too at the time. My mother had things that she was doing and she couldn't always watch the children. And we lived a distance from her as well. So there were a number of different factors that we had to look at. And so those are the things that really pushed me. And after I talked to Mr. Sutter, it wasn't no shutting me down after that, It wasn't no shutting my husband down after that. After we spoke to this man and he gave us the information that he gave us, there was no shutting us down. But to you all who are going to be following this series, what I want you to do is determine, first of all, why do you want to get into real estate investing? Another thing I want to say to those of you who are of a religious mindset, in which hopefully none of those people who just think about doomsday and all of this kind of stuff are even bothering with this, because I'm of the mindset that we have to occupy until the Most High comes. Okay, that is where my mindset is. We've got to be realistic. You got to live somewhere. So that means you got to either rent or buy. You got to have a place to lay your head. Being realistic, we don't know if we have 50 years or 100 years left before major events happen. That being said, you either have to work somewhere or you got to work for yourself. And so I am a strong advocate for working for yourself, because job security no longer exists. Okay. And so providing a job for yourself, there is nothing wrong with that. I'm not trying to teach nobody about getting rich. I'm not telling you to strive to be rich. I'm just saying, as long as you have breath in your body and you have a need to eat and sleep and have a roof over your head, then there's nothing wrong with going into business ventures, which include real estate, investing in real estate. And so again, this series is going to be very juicy. On some of the episodes, I'm going to bring my husband in because this is a shared experience for us. He's very busy doing his own thing right now. He has a lot of repairs that he does around here because this too was a fixer-upper. Okay, we're going to talk about that fixer-upper thing too. Not this right here is a shed, but I'm speaking about our house. Because we know how to do certain jobs and tasks and things, because we made sure that we learned as we got into real estate. We said, well, you know what, instead of paying these people all this money to do this little stuff, and we're going to get into that too, repairing your rental properties or your investment properties that you're going to flip or whatever, you definitely need to learn how to do some of this stuff yourself. And we're going to share some of those testimonies. I'm not going to give it all in this particular video. This is just an introductory into what we're going to be talking about. But again, after we learned about some of the loopholes that you can go through to try to get property, some of the ways of financing, and how rich people obtain property and things that you need to do, when we found all of this stuff out, there was no stopping us at that point. We talked to a lot of very successful people in real estate of all different colors and cultures and races. It was a great learning experience for us. This isn't for anyone that's lazy. If you're lazy, forget about this. Turn the video off and just walk away if you're lazy. But if you're a person who is a go-getter and you're not afraid of work and all of that good stuff, you are going to learn a lot in this series from myself and my husband. Most of the series I'll be doing myself, like I said, because my husband is very busy. We were in this together. We walked through every process. We just learned so much together, working together. We made decisions together. And some things I was just adamant for, and some things my husband was adamant for. But one thing for sure, if I was trying to get into something that my husband felt we shouldn't have got into, he's like, no, like, just share this one experience. There was a house that I loved the house. Okay. It was a beautiful house, absolutely beautiful house, but it was in a rough part of Detroit. But I knew people in that area, so I was comfortable with the area. Despite it being a beautiful brick, two-story, two-family flat, it had major foundation problems. But I had the mindset of, tackling anything. I just didn't care, But my husband, on this particular property, he said, no, baby, I don't care what you say on this one. We are not getting that house. And when I looked in his eyes and I saw how serious he was about it, usually I'll say, well, baby, 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 baby. On this one, I said, ain't no convincing this man of this one. So I said, okay, you're right. I said, you're right. We're going to walk away from this one because the foundation was rough. And it would have cost us a lot of money. And just doing basic calling around, it was going to cost us a lot of money to get that foundation fixed. Now, we have had other properties with foundation problems, but they were doable. They were fixable. And we will get into that as we go along in this series. I just, again, wanted to start you off so that we can just kind of prepare ourselves. I do welcome questions. I will only answer according to what we know, okay? Because there are other elements of real estate that we may not know of, okay? Like in commercial property buying. We do know of it, but I'll share a story. As a matter of fact, let me write that down because I didn't put that in our list. We were attempting to buy one commercial property, and I want to talk about that particular property that we were attempting to buy and the issues we ran into. Because I'm going to tell you right now, back during that time, we were younger, had more energy, had fewer children. I was ready to tackle anything. You hear what I'm saying? Anything. And so I want to talk about this in the series as well. This particular commercial property that was in Highland Park, Michigan. I want to talk about that. But anyway, we welcome questions and we will only answer according to what we know. All right. We do know a lot about this subject, but I'm pretty sure there are some things we don't know. Right. And so I'm looking forward to this series. I'm excited about it. I'm hoping that it will be a baraka or a blessing to those of you who want to get into real estate investing. It was definitely fun. And so I'm going to talk about many things, and you will learn a lot from this series. Not everyone who has become a member of this channel is interested in this particular series, in which we understand that is completely okay. We get that. Some of you became members just to support the channel, and we appreciate that as well. We definitely appreciate that because real estate won't be the only thing that we are covering. We will cover other topics as well as time goes on. This is just one thing that I wanted to introduce into the membership because a lot of people are just kind of concerned about job security. And this is definitely something that can help you along the way because owning homes or owning property is definitely different than renting. Although you have naysayers who say, well, you'll never own anything in this country. Well, you are definitely in a different position, a different position if you own property or if you rent property. You are definitely in a different position. So with all of that being said, I'm going to go ahead and close out this video. And the next topic we will introduce very, very soon. I just wanted to get into the series by sharing with you our experience getting into real estate and how it's definitely time consuming. It can be challenging. There's so much to talk about in this series. We can just go on and on just with sharing our own individual personal experiences. Trust me, our personal experiences are going to help you with yours. I don't want the series to be boring and just talking about, well, just do this and do that and do this and do that. Our personal experiences will show you what type of real estate you want to get into, because some of you might not be interested in tenants. And I'm going to share some of those experiences as well so you can understand where we're coming from. Some of you may only want to flip property. Some of you may be interested in apartment buildings, in which we owned a total of 4 apartment buildings in the city of Detroit when we were in real estate. So there is a lot we're going to cover. We owned 2 family flats, single homes, just a number of different things in different cities. Detroit is where most of our property was, Redford, Michigan, and Inkster. Yeah, Inkster. Those were the 3 locations that we had property in. And then we had our primary residence, which was out in the country in a rural area of Michigan. So a lot we are going to cover in this series. Get your questions ready. I encourage you all to be realistic as well. Okay, be realistic in this. We are not doing this video, or this video series, should I say, as any guarantee that you are going to be successful in real estate. We are just giving you information. I thought I should say that for anyone who is thinking that I'm going to give you some ticket into the doors of real estate. I'm just giving you information, and I hope you do the best that you can with it. Again, those of you who reached out to us and you said that you have information in real estate as well that you would like to share, we definitely would like to speak with you and see what it is you want to add to this. If this is something we are interested in adding into this series, we will definitely do that. If not, that's fine too. But we are going to go ahead and close out this video. I look forward to the series. And with that, I will say shalom. Be sure to ring the bell to be notified of new uploads on this channel. And also comment, share, like, and subscribe.